Well, defense officials say that the leaked Pentagon documents that have appeared online pose a serious risk to national security.
The Justice Department has opened an investigation into the leak as the Pentagon continues to assess the extent of it. The documents posted on social media appear to contain sensitive and highly classified material, including details on the war in Ukraine. They also suggest the U.S. has been spying on international allies. But officials are trying to determine the authenticity of the material.
CBS News senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge joins us now. Catherine, tell us, how legitimate is the material in these documents?
Well, Lana, based on my review, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some of the records do appear authentic. Others appear to be doctored. When you look at them, it has a sense of trying to convey an intent or a motivation. And we spoke with H.R. McMaster yesterday. He's a former national security advisor and CBS News consultant. And he said it looks a lot like disinformation warfare. So they've taken real information, mixed it in with doctored information to convey a message, which in this case may be more favorable to Russia than it is to Ukraine.
I mean, Catherine, that makes me wonder, are these documents something that could have been leaked or something that could have been hacked? And what would be the severity of either option, and how close are we to figuring out?
Well, Lilia, based on a review of the slides, it does appear that they were essentially stolen documents, not hacked or breached in that sense. Looking at the documents, you can see that there is the lion's share military records, CIA records, some from the Defense Intelligence Agency. But really what's caught my attention is the classification markings. We've talked a lot about secret and top secret, but there are also some documents that are marked SCI, which is sensitive compartmented information. This is information where the source is extremely fragile and delicate. Also something called TK, or talent keyhole. That's the acronym for intelligence that's from imagery or spy satellites, and also no foreign, which means it can't be distributed to foreign nationals. So you get a sense that it is highly classified information, and it may well have come from a limited series of briefing books, the kind of briefing books that are shared with the chairmen of the Joint Chief.
Wow.
Given the SCI markings, the TK markings, the fact that these are highly classified documents, Catherine, just overall, how damaging is this leak to the U.S. and its allies?
I think the most damaging element, Lana, to the leak is information that relates to our understanding of the intent or motivations of people like the Ukrainian President Zelensky. That would involve signals intelligence, so getting on people's phones, or even human intelligence. Those are very hard to replicate. Most of the slides, though, however, in my view, appear to be from aerial imagery. So much of that is commercially available now, so I'm not so sure that we're giving away a lot of secrets there.
You know, Catherine, the severity of this leak and just how delicate the information that is out there makes me think about the other classified documents that have been recovered from the homes of former President Donald Trump, former Vice President Mike Pence, and the President Joe Biden. The Congressional Gang of Eight has reportedly been given access to those documents. Can you talk to us about why that is significant? And, you know, are we still wondering if too many people get access to highly classified information?
Good question. What I hear consistently from my contacts, and these are people who've worked in military and intelligence circles for 3 decades, is that the U.S. government really has an overclassification problem. Far too much of the information is overclassified or classified at a very high level. That said, it's very significant that some of the records that were recovered at the former president and current president's homes and the vice president are being shared with Congress. These lawmakers see this as a victory for oversight for the legislative branch, because they feel that they have a right to understand what the national security implications are. I think one of the takeaways, based on my reporting, is that a number of records were overclassified, and maybe in the years since they were produced should have been declassified or should not have been so highly classified in the first place.
Well, not the case with this leak now, but certainly with this older one.
I would say so. That's
Catherine
right.
Herridge, thank you so
You're
much for all
welcome.
that context.